If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome to the Culturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my two good friends. They normally travel in pairs, like some animal. Someone fill in the blank here. Penguins? Is that a thing? What animals travel in pairs? Movie reviewers.
Yes.
Movie reviewers travel in pairs. We're joined by my good friend, screenwriter, Mothman extraordinaire, Senor Mothman. What's moth in Spanish? What do we call you? What's moth? Do we know?
You have started out with two questions I cannot answer. Animals in pairs, moth in Spanish. I don't even know if I belong here
Hombre
anymore.
de Polilla. That's your name now. Man of the Moth. Man of the Moth, Richard Hatem.
I'll take it.
And he's from New York. He has the best facial hair of anyone that I know. Mr. Cullen Gallagher. It's true, man.
You were too kind. Thank you. Thank you for having me back. Nice to see you all.
Of course. And we're going to be talking about Indian cinema once again. It's been a year since Richard had to watch Indian cinema, and he's here watching it again. He's already getting into the mood. He's dancing over here and everything.
I want to eat Indian food when I watch Indian movies.
I want to eat Indian food all the time.
That's the main side effect. Me too. But it's like, I'm like, okay, why do I not have a giant bowl of lamb vindaloo?
Fair. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about the most contemporary film that we're talking about this month, but yet it is a film that is very well received, very well thought of. I think even, it's only been 2 years, but it's clearly made a very big impact. We're going to be talking about 2019's Gully Boy.
ये गली की बारात नहीं तेरी कोई औकात नहीं इस जंग में बंजा मेरा चेला तुझे बहुत कुछ सिखाना है मेरा रैप सुन के तेरी बंदी बोले ओ ये तो मेरा वाला गाना है ये टी-शर्ट है नल्ली इलाका ये मेरा go back to your gully कुछ है क्या बोलने को इसका अब बहुत बेटे चुप चाप क्या घंटे का इंसाफ देश कैसे होगा साफ इनकी नियत में है दाग सिर्फ छोटे में को लगा तेरे को रैप भी का बहुत शौक है करके इसको रैप बोलते हैं ये देख मेरी गाड़ी मेरे जूते ये देख दारू छोकरी
सफीना तुम्हें कुकिंग आती है
नहीं लेकिन अगर सब कुछ सही रहा एक दिन मैं आपका लिवर ट्रांसप्लांट कर सकती हूँ
हाँ मेरा भाई ये तो नोटों की सरकार है ना नोट से बनाते अपने बेटों को ये स्टार
मेरे बॉयफ्रेंड से गुलू गुलू करेगी तो धोपतूंगी ना उसको
अच्छा बहुत बड़ी गुंडी है तू
अच्छा छोड़ ना सॉरी फिर से नहीं होएगा ऐसा
कहा मेरी कसम
मर जाएगा तू
अकेला इंसान फिर गाड़ी तेरी चार क्यों घर में है चार फिर रूम्स तेरे 8 क्यों
कोई बड़ी मुराद अगर सपने में दिख जाए तो उसके लिए ट्राई करने का ना
कुछ जो करने का है तो कर
अब बोलो आसाती
तेरा अब्बू एक ड्राइवर है नौकर का बेटा नौकर बनेगा ये फितरत है
अब बोलो आसाती
कितना कितना पैसा झोंक रहा हूँ मैं पढ़ाई में ये पढ़ाई कर रहा है ये रंगापा कर रहा है ये अगली बार अगर देख लिया मैंने समझ लेना
अपना टाइम आएगा
अपना टाइम आएगा। जितने भी चीर-फाड़ आर्टिस्ट हुए ना आज तक, सबके सब भूखे फक्कड़। हालत ऐसी कि जो मिलेगा नोच खाएंगे। बीट चुरा के फिर उसी भूख की कहानी बना के बोले, फिर जाके कुछ उखाड़े। उठ जा अपनी राख से, तू उड़ जा अब तलाश में, परवाज़ देख परवाने की आसमां भी सर। बस चाहिए तो तेरे अंदर की सच्ची कहानी, तेरे अंदर का लावा फट के बाहर आने दे। अब हौसले से जीने दे, अब खौफ नहीं है सीने में, हर रास्ते को चीरेंगे, हम कामयाबी छीनेंगे, सब कुछ मिला पसीने से, मतलब बना अब जीने में। क्यों? तू कौन है? क्या औकात क्या तेरा?
कोई दूसरा मेरे को बताएगा मैं कौन है।
क्योंकि अपना टाइम आएगा, तू नंगा ही तो आया है, क्या घंटा लेकर जाएगा? अपना टाइम आएगा, अपना टाइम आएगा, अपना टाइम आएगा, तू नंगा ही तो आया है, क्या घंटा लेकर जाएगा? अपना टाइम आएगा, अपना टाइम आएगा, अपना टाइम आएगा, तू नंगा ही तो आया है, क्या घंटा लेकर?
सलाम ठोक सर झुका, तू दुम दबा चल रास्ता नाप ले, कपड़े सिला ले खुद के दम पे, नहीं लिए मैंने अपने बाप से।
अपना टाइम आएगा, अपना टाइम आएगा।
So Gully Boy is directed by Zoya Akhtar, a female Indian director. It is also written by her and Rima Kagti, sorry. And it stars Ranveer Singh as the titular Gully Boy. The story is actually based on the true story of two Indian street rappers, Divine and Nazi. And so the film follows Ranveer Singh as Murad Ahmed, a college student who lives in the slums of Mumbai, who wants to escape his abusive father and his horrible family life to become a hip-hop star. Right out of the gate, though, I can kind of speak for the three of us and say, was not aware how important hip-hop was in Indian culture. Kind of shocking, yeah?
I mean, sort of shocking, but not really. Hip-hop, obviously a worldwide phenomenon.
Sure, of course.
I would in no way consider myself an aficionado. I'm vaguely familiar with rap through what my kids listen to. Not a sort of primary fan myself, but I don't, run away from it.
It's like the oldest white man thing you've ever said. I hear about it through my kids.
Well, that's how it goes. Look, I mean, but isn't that the way it should be? Isn't the most current popular cutting edge music the sort of thing that the young should be leading the way and the older generation should be looking askance, but every once in a while going, well, that's not so bad, but it's no Glenn Miller.
I think what you just said is important, and it kind of speaks to what this movie's about a little bit. It is important that we as the older generation, because we're not in our 20s anymore, so we're kind of falling out with the recent stuff, unless we're keeping, an eye on it and keeping track of it. It's important to not hinder it. It's important to let it flourish. Just because I'm not participating in it doesn't mean I need to be an obstacle in its way.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the music might not be for you.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the big points of this movie is, look, the music's not for you. It's about me. It's about us. It means something to us. So Cullen, before we get to Richard, because I'm really curious about Richard, but Cullen, what did you think of Gully Boy?
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a really good, feel-good movie. It made me, pause it to, pick up my guitar and play. And it was just I like playing music. It reminded me why I like doing it and why songs mean something to me. So I thought it had a effective message that hit home.
What about you, Richard?
Yeah, I loved it too. And it's funny because as I was watching it, I love the look, the cast. I mean, incredibly charismatic young actors, beautiful. You can't take your eyes off them. Good. I mean, also extremely talented, both musically and as, actors. So I thought it was great, but I kept thinking, this is sort of weird. I mean, it's an Indian film. It's about hip hop and rap. And I find that I'm really enjoying it, but I kept thinking, if this was an American movie about the exact same subject, of which there has been at least one, I don't know if
very close, mind you.
I don't know if I'd be enjoying it as much, because I will say that this one absolutely hit every single step along the way and checked every single box of of sort of the archetypical structure that these movies take, the young person who wants to succeed in music, the heartbreak, the setbacks, the sudden leaps forward, the excitement. But anyway, I'm like, but if I was watching, this is an American movie about somebody in the Midwest, I'd be thoroughly annoyed. I'd be like, okay, whatever. So I was trying to figure that out. It's like, why are these cliches, if you will, not bothering me? Is it because of what is to me an exotic foreign setting? Does that make it different enough and give it just enough, sort of visual friction that I am interested, and I'm not just sort of sitting back with my arms crossed going, okay, gee, guess what's going to happen?
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
When you're a teen, it can feel like everyone else is calling the shots. Parents, teachers, coaches, they all have something to say about what you do. But your period? That should be 100% in your control. That's why Knix, the #1 leak-proof underwear company in North America, created KT for Teens, period products that put you in charge. KT leak-proof underwear, swimwear, and activewear give you the power to do what you want, when you want, without your period making decisions for you. Heavy flow during soccer practice? You decide to keep playing. Surprise period during a sleepover? You decide to keep the party going. Hitting the beach or pool? You decide when to jump in. No more sitting out, going home early, or changing your plans just because of your period. Because the one thing you should absolutely have power over is your own body. Ready to take back control? Visit nixteen.com now and get 15% off your first purchase with promo code CONTROL. That's KNIXteen.com, promo code CONTROL.
He's going to fall in with a faster crowd than his friends and his girlfriend are used to.
Right.
But when it happens in this movie, I'm totally loving it.
I know what you mean, and I think it's a pretty universal story. You could replace this with sports.
Right.
You could replace it with really anything, because at its core, it's somebody, that's lower class, disadvantaged, wants to be something greater than society and their family has told them they can be. And they have to decide whether they're going to take a chance, and they're going to see whether it pays off or not. And this is a very positive movie, and things do pay off. First time he gets up to sing, makes some friends, gets, he's able to find a mentor, like everything kind of works out. But yeah, Richard, I do know what you mean. I don't know what the answer is. For me, I think it was, I liked the music. As I had said earlier, I'm a musician, so it kind of hits home more for me than I think if this had been a baseball story, it probably wouldn't have been as interesting to me.
Well, here's the thing. I want to talk about something you just said, but first I want to talk about the sports metaphor. I think the difference between a movie about a young person trying to excel in sports and movies like this about a young person trying to excel in an aspect of the arts is that typically among their friends and family, sports are not looked at with the same suspicion and cynicism as art is. There's always a feeling in these kinds of movies, and I totally get it, where it's like it's that level of we don't really get it. Do you think you're better than us? We're just are you trying to get in? You're trying to get into a whole different culture. For most of American culture, sports are right next to God and apple pie. No one is going to go, what, you want to be a baseball star? What do you think, you're too good for us? They're going to be like, no, make our dreams come true. And then probably everyone, family and friends and the main character alike, are taken aback if there's a dark side or an ugly side or a drug, money, gambling, whatever side.
You mean when they realize reality?
Exactly. Yeah. And then everyone realizes, oh, you mean sports aren't this wholesome bit of Americana? But definitely, in this movie, it's not just like we don't get that genre of music. It's like, why would you, like, this makes literally no sense. I work as a servant, you will work as a servant. Our entire society is based on that. I don't know what you're talking about when you say you're doing music.
Well, and like you've mentioned, and this came up in the last film that we watched, Three Idiots, it's similar story in a lot of ways. It's a story about three guys, as opposed to one guy, it's three guys. One of them wants to be a photographer. The other one wants to, he's trying to get his family out of poverty, similar to this character. And then there's the third character that's kind of the one that's pushing the other two to do what they want and be successful in spite of their shortcomings. And so this movie and that movie have similar themes. They talk about the same thing, be true to yourself. The system as it is now is inherently broken. People need to change who they are before they can change the system. All that good stuff that's really important. I will say, though, Richard, I think one of the things, because I agree with you, if I had watched this movie and it had been 8 Mile, I would have probably liked it as much as I liked 8 Mile, which is, it's okay. But it doesn't have the charm. Right. It doesn't have the charm that this movie has. And I think what this movie also does that's very interesting is, yes, it plays into tropes and conventions, but at the same time, it chooses to completely ignore them. You have this possessive girlfriend character, and he stays with her the entire movie. In an American film, his ass would have been gone. I mean, she would have been painted as a villain. She would have been painted as the problem. He never would have had anything to do with her. But yet he does in this.
Yeah, which, well, I was sort of keeping my eye on that because, well, a little strange, but maybe not. Well, I'll say it this way. I think in an American movie, his little trip off the reservation would have been a much longer trip.
Bigger than one night.
Bigger than one night that he sort of immediately regrets and then tries to repair. I think we would have taken him on a much darker ride in terms of the dark side of show business or whatever, before he finally hit a metaphorical rock bottom and then realized there's a way to realize my dream, but not give up my values and morals. And now I've got to go back and beg. And it's funny though. I mean, I kind of love how they didn't make Safina like a victim. Like in a way, she's sort of the author of her own misfortune because she too is frustrated in her life and incredibly held down. I mean, there's some heartbreaking stuff in this movie, and I am assuming it is not fiction describing the way these young people live. I
have a friend who got married within the last 5 years. And he's Muslim, he's Pakistani, and he got arranged. And look, him and his wife are happy, but that's not the point. Obviously, it's a cultural thing that I think Americans, we just don't get it. And that's fine. It's not an understanding. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to approve of it. It's a cultural thing. That's what it is. But again, like you said, there is an undercurrent in their own culture, in Indian culture, in Pakistani culture, that are not okay with it either. And it's people my age that aren't okay with it. And you get to see it in this film. I mean, you get to see how people in their own culture shirk these notions of like, just because you've done it this way forever doesn't mean I want to continue to propagate that nonsense.
Well, and with Murad, who is the main character, who is the Gully Boy, and whose story we basically follow. He's sort of bumping up against the expectation that he will go into a sort of a middle blue collar kind of mid-level job. Kind of like his dad had, and don't keep your head down. Don't look up. Don't expect more. But he wants to do this other thing. Obviously, he wants to, be part of the hip hop world and rap. And then Safina, and this is like in a way even more illuminating for an American audience. She wants to be a doctor. Right. In other words, she's doing what in America would be considered an extremely sort of like responsible, like, oh yeah, of course. And that is threatened because her parents are saying, no, you know what? You just need to get married now. And her mom is like, we're going to pull you out of school and you're just going to focus on getting married and being a wife. And there's this really, very affecting scene where she's panicking and crying and begging her father, please let me study. Which you don't hear in America a lot, but she's screaming and crying and begging her father, please let me remain in college so I may study and become a doctor. And it's like, Jesus, she's got to fight for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like, wow, okay. So, the pressure of the society and the older generation on the younger generation for things that even we would consider fairly conservative and respectable goals is what was shocking and pretty involving.
I do think that was one of the most affecting aspects of this movie that and relatable. In my own way, at least just that, these characters that so badly wanted to do something and people just around them did not know how to support them. Yeah. Even she doesn't quite know how to support her boyfriend either with his goals. Right. And it's something that, she has to learn how to do. And they have it with their families. Richard, to go back to something you said earlier, I absolutely love my mom. She is incredibly supportive of me trying to pursue whatever it is I'm trying to pursue, which I'm still figuring out. But it's something that as I got older, I did have to talk to her a lot about. And she's just like, I don't understand what it is you're trying to do. Like, she and my father came from like medical, and science backgrounds, and they did not have friends who were artists or musicians or writers. And it is incredibly foreign to them. And it has been something that we've been able to connect with, where she has opened up and it's like, look, I don't know how to support you.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Or what to say, because I want you to have a stable job. And, so anyway, that's something I kept thinking about. That's why I kept pausing the movie and pulling out a guitar playing, because it, very much reminded me of something I've been, in my own way, trying to deal with.
I can echo what you said, Cullen, 100%.
I was extremely lucky. I knew it at the time, but I realize it more and more as my life goes on, that my parents, who were not involved in the entertainment world at all. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, but they were school teachers and school administrators. There was no one in my family at all who had anything to do with the entertainment industry. But I think because of who I was, it was so obvious to them that I was going to do something. I was either going to try to be an actor or try to be do stand-up or try to be in show business, a director, a writer, do something that by the time I was old enough to go to do any of that, they had long since realized, well, of course that's what's happening here. And we weren't well off, but we were not poor. We were, middle class, upper middle class. And I think they felt like, yeah, that's okay. We don't. If we were afraid of things, we don't necessarily need to beat that fear into his head. He'll go figure it out one way or another. He'll figure it out. And thank God I had that sort of assumed support, or I would not. Well, I don't know. It would have been much more difficult.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's like a mix of both. I think my parents kind of knew that I didn't know what I wanted to do. At many points, I think they knew that I didn't want to do the normal 9 to 5, which I don't in a way. But like you said, Richard, they kind of knew that it was like, this is going to be what I'm doing is whatever the hell I'm doing. But then, like with what you talked about, Cullen, I have had those conversations with my parents and be like, this is what I'm doing. Like, and I'm going to die trying. I'm going to die trying. I'm going to die in front of this microphone if I have to, trying to be successful. I mean, if you're not doing it to the best of your ability, don't do it. You got to throw your heart and your soul and everything into it. Not saying you're going to be
Chris,
successful.
Weren't you supposed to go to law school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. I was enrolled enrolled in law school. I was supposed to show up for orientation to law school. I had a partial paid for tuition to law school. I did not show up.
What does your dad do for a living?
He's a lawyer. My dad is an attorney. Well-known attorney in the DFW area too. He's not like some random dude who works at a law firm. He was pretty well known in the field that he worked in. I didn't want to do it. I thought that's what I wanted. I think a lot of us think that with money comes happiness and with money comes stability, but happiness is always going to be something that only you can be the manager of. Money's not going to make you happy.
Yeah, but was there a moment? I mean, clearly, like you moved, you were like, I guess I'm doing this.
Yeah, there was a moment. You want to know what the moment was? It was when a woman was careening at my car going 40 miles an hour, about to hit me on the door of my car, and I swerved out of the way, thankfully. Still got hit, but got hit in the front of my car about a month before we moved up here. Woman just straight up T-boned my car with me and 2 of my friends in it. And I realized, I was like, it was way too close of a call. If I had died today, I would have been fucking miserable because I'm going to law school for the money and that's it. Would I have found passion in it? Sure, probably would have. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Good.
Wow.
That's hard to do.
Wow.
It is hard to do. Like, sitting here now, I wish I could tell me 7 years ago, you will still be doing this 7 years from now, and you will be happier than you've ever been. Success notwithstanding, but you will be happy at what you do. I mean, I'm not sitting here. We don't get millions of views. I mean, I'm not going to pretend. But at the same time,
well, that's not what you told me, Chris.
Right. That's not what I signed up for.
Why do you think I'm here?
Right. Am I not getting? Where's the craft service table? Are you sending me something?
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the great scene in the movie where he, the main character is at his, I guess his uncle's bank, having previously decided he's not going to go to the competition, and then the uncle says, you recognize an opportunity. You made the right choice.
Yeah.
And he just gets up and walks out. I was like, that is the dream right there. Get up, walk away from your job.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Here's the thing I don't know about my situation any more than Richard or Cullen. I'm sure we all have had several moments in our lives, but I look back now and I realize what that was one of those moments, was the day I didn't go to orientation, because a lot of things have come out of that. A lot. I mean, a lot. As I'm sure there's been moments in your life, Cullen, as in your life, Richard, there have been 1 or 2 moments, possibly more. Again, Richard, you're a little older than I am. So I assume there's been a couple in each of our lives, and it's 1 or 2 decisions being made differently, and it changes everything. I mean, if I had never done this, I would never have met either one of y'all, and that would have been a shame.
Well, that's clearly the biggest tragedy.
I mean, the biggest tragedy would be not having met all my friends I've met through podcasting. Honest to God. That is my capital in my life, is my friends and family. That's my capital. It's not money. It's really not.
I am certainly of an age where I know people, many people who got it, who've spent 25 years in a job they don't give a shit about.
Right.
And they've done all right. But I mean, I know people who literally have a day marked on a calendar when they're done. And they can finally say, done, clocking out, cash my check, collect my retirement at its maximum level, and I'm done. And when I think about that, it scares the shit out of me, because all I can think of, being the guy I am, is is 6 months before that date going to the doctor and the doctor going, what's that lump?
Yeah.
You know, that is what scares me. Not that I'm not going to have enough money to last out my life, but that would happen, that you would gamble everything on a retirement in 15 years, then I'll travel the world and have fun. You don't know. You don't have 15 days for all you know. You can't do that.
I mean, that is very much why I left the job I had several years ago, and I'm still trying to find a job. Employers, take note. I am available, but only if you have a cool job. I will give my LinkedIn account instead of my email and the website at the end of the show. But
Cullen, only if it's a cool job, though.
No, but that's the thing. I was at a job and it had benefits, and I really miss having that. Yeah, I foresaw I would still be doing the same thing 5 years down the line. I would be doing the same job 10 years down the line, and nothing would change. And I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all it takes, really, is that inward, that introspective look at yourself and saying, am I going to be happy if I'm doing this 5 years from now? I'm very happy doing this 7 years later.
The thing that I would like, there's part of the job I still want to be doing 10 years from now, which is being able to listen to the Ramones all day long while I'm working.
A lot of jobs that'll let you do that.
That is one of the highest things, and being able to wear denim. Those are two key components that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and there's a couple things. One is living your life the way you want to and not doing something you don't want to do. And then there's that other sort of, which gets touched on in Gully Boy. And they're close, but they're not exactly the same thing. The other thing is just going for it, going for the dream. Now, for instance, Gully Boy, if there's a Gully Boy 2, it may turn out that was it. That was kind of the highlight. What happened at the end of this movie was the high water mark of his career, but at least he did that. And,
right.
I teach a class at UCLA in TV writing, and I always make it really clear to people, I'm not here to tell you if you've got talent. I know that's sort of, there's that weird expectation you have in the back of your head. You're going to talk to a professional. They're going to read your stuff and go, you, yes.
You are the bar, measuring bar, right?
Right. You can come in, or I'm going to sit somebody down and go, you know what? I just got to be honest. You should do something else. I can't do that because I don't know.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
But I do encourage everyone. I'm like, look, guys, you've got to do this. If even part of you thinks you want to do it, you have to give it your shot, and you have to give it your shot now. Ideally, I'm talking to people in their 20s. I'm like, reality will tell you if you're going to be successful. You'll either sell something or you won't. You'll either work or you won't. But don't try and then at age 54 go, well, now that I've put in my 25 years, I'm going to finally explore my dream of becoming a screenwriter. It's too late. No one wants that. Okay. So do it now, and spend 5 years or 10 years or whatever you want to do. So that's another thing that Gully Boy was about. It's like, I can't wait 25 years for this dream. I have to do it now.
And I think that's important. I think that's an important thing. Look, we've all gone through academia in some form or fashion, and they don't teach that in academia. They don't teach. I mean, they teach you things in academia, but back to Three Idiots, which, by the way, you guys should totally check out Three Idiots. It's really good. But similar in this film to Three Idiots, you sit and you listen to the way people talk about their dreams and what they wanted, and it feels less of a "you don't go do it" as more as a as much as a like, I didn't get to do it, so I don't think you should either. And it's like. I
love that. I mean,
but that's what it is in this movie, right? That's the whole final scene with his dad.
And that's what it is. I mean, that goes on in America too.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm talking. This is a thing that is kind of here in culture, regardless of where you live.
The Hollywood version is, well, I had to work for an abusive boss, an abusive producer, director, showrunner. I had to put up with horrible people and monstrous behavior. So why shouldn't you?
Right.
Can you believe the fucking emotional bankruptcy of a human being? And yet they're walking around. Hey, I had to pay for college. Why should you get college free? It's like, you're saddled with ridiculous amounts of debt that are going to, that's going to affect your life for years. And you're furious that someone else might not have to go through that? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah, they don't see the hypocrisy of it.
Well, look, you're gonna say one of two things. You're either gonna say like the characters in the movies you're talking about, Chris, this one and Three Idiots, which, by the way, would be a great name for this podcast. You either say, "Hey, I never got to go for my dream, so you go for yours,
and I will support you until the ends of the earth."
Right, because I know how that hurts and what it costs, and you shouldn't have to suffer the way I did. Or again, the other one is, I didn't get to go for my dream, so fuck you. Why should you even get to go for your dreams? We should both be miserable. I'm miserable. Why shouldn't you be miserable?
That just makes me sad, hearing those words come out of your mouth.
Yeah,
it's very true.
Someone that I really respect, Anthony Bourdain. I've been recently rereading Kitchen Confidential. His book is full of this shit. It's like bullshit of the highest order. Dude, your mom and dad, or your mom were very well off, very, very affluent, and you went and worked in restaurants, and it was terrible. And then in your book you're writing, and in subsequent books you write about how American chefs are weak and soft because they're not being treated like garbage. It's like, I appreciate that there's like a badge of honor thing about losing a finger in the kitchen or burning yourself beyond belief, but not a requirement. Not everyone's going to rise above it like Anthony Bourdain did, because again, it doesn't have to be that way. It's a choice.
And by the way, I mean, and I love Anthony Bourdain, but and he was a successful guy in many different ways, but troubled. And also, that comes from a place of logic, which says, I am good at what I do because the person who trained me beat me up and treated me like shit. Okay, got it.
It's whiplash, pretty much.
Like whiplash. But what that is saying is that your own assessment of yourself is that I deserve that sort of treatment, and that is the treatment that I need to be who I am. And that message, I think, gets implanted when you're really young. Because, by the way, not everybody has that.
Right.
Not everybody feels that they need someone to kick their ass and shit all over them to create some weird friction that's going to cause them to succeed. And what you never see is the movie about all the people who quit piano lessons and quit this and quit that because they're like, gee, I thought I wanted to do it, and it is something that I truly love. I didn't realize that the people who would be mentoring me were devils and were going to attack me in ways that have nothing to do with the art or craft of what I'm trying to learn. So those people never go forward. And yet the ones who do go forward, who put up all that bullshit, think that's why they are successful. Rather than someone coming around and going, no, you know what? I had a mentor. They treated me great. They encouraged me. They're always there for me.
I'm still friends with them. They're still alive.
That's not as compelling. Yeah, still friends. Still, we're creative collaborators. Now that story doesn't get told because it's, I guess, not compelling enough. But guess what? It's true. And we probably have a lot more great chefs and musicians and actors and writers in our world if we didn't somehow cling to this weird, fucked out notion that someone needs to be kicked in the teeth over and over like a dog. You know what that does to a dog? Dog into a killer. Yeah. It doesn't make it into a great dog.
It desensitizes it. And that, like, to your point, Richard, like, the movie kind of speaks to that in a way, because the movie says, like, look, this kind of mentality is the reason why it is like this. And I mean, you see characters in this movie who you never get to hear their stories. There's like a room full of rappers at one point, and you never hear their stories. You only hear Murad and MC Cher's story. And more Murad than MC Cher, because he kind of comes into it, in media res. But you get to see that Gully Boy is a product of his environment, for the good and for the bad. I mean, he's jacking cars at some point. He's stealing cars, but he's stealing cars because he can't get money. There's no way to make money. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been to India, but this movie is pretty on point. I've never been to Mumbai. I've been to Delhi and a couple other places. But it's like this. It was like this 10 years ago. It's like this now.
One of my favorite scenes was when you have the American tourists who are paying to be able to, go into the house, where it's sort of like slum tourism.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, there's a ethnographic film. My goodness, I might try and Google the name of it, but it's about a bunch of tourists. I think, is it in Papua New Guinea, who just have no conception of how toxic their presence is. And,
right.
I thought that was an amazing scene. And then the American is like trying to explain who Nas is, and then Murad just rips one of his lines.
Richard, you always talk about payoff. Set up and payoff. They set up that scene where he's talking to the tourist and he's like, Nas, whatever, I know Nas. You know what? There's the payoff for that scene later in the movie when Murad is in the bathroom of Sky's house and he stands with his back to the shower and he starts taking steps across the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to figure out how much bigger this bathroom is than his entire house. And it's like the best payoff because they don't have any dialogue. It's a very quiet scene. But again, it further reinforces like these two worlds that exist in India. Like, we don't see the kind of poverty in our country, at least not in the Midwest. I know in bigger, larger suburban cities, you do see it. But the kind of poverty that there is in India, we do not see it in this country. Not in the way that you see it in India, where it's on almost every corner. And I'm, not a condemnation of the culture. Indian culture is my favorite culture in the world. I love India more than any country in the world other than, I guess, America. But it's there. It's just there. This is real. It's there. And you can't get around it. But that payoff in that scene, it's just, again, it's this quiet sense of filmmaking that this film has that's very different from a lot of Indian cinema.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Cinema that we've seen.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I was thinking about it, the scene where, he's got his friend Moeen, who is a bit more of a, sort of a petty criminal. And I would call him a petty criminal. In America, he might be considered, he's more of a, he's jacking cars, he's selling drugs. He's not carrying a gun as far as I know. So he's just kind of living on the other side of the law. And seems like a nice guy, but that's how he's making his living. So when Murad helps him for a little while, it feels less like, oh no, he's becoming a criminal. And it feels a little more like I'm just sort of helping my friend out, and my friend is helping me out. And I'm just sort of doing this sort of work for a little while. But which leads me to another point, the introduction of MC Sher, who is kind of his, introduction to the rap world. He's sort of a local rap, star or legend, but local. And that's his first step. And when he meets the guy is immediately friendly, welcoming, encouraging, helpful, and remains so, and becomes his friend, and he's never aloof. And it's never like, what makes you think you can do it? He tells him what he needs to do, but he doesn't. No one's an asshole in this movie among his peers.
I like the fact that there wasn't a rivalry between the two of them. I kept waiting for that.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on what y'all were talking about earlier, if this were an American film, the two of them would have a fallout. And that never happens in this.
And they would have had a makeup in the final scene of the film.
And I like how even like when Murad sort of screws up and, isn't answering MC Sher's phone calls, he's late to the gig. He shows up and MC Sher's like, at first, like, where you been? And as soon as he says, I'm here, it's just like, yeah, it's all good. We're here together. Like, yeah, I like the fact that he doesn't question it. It's just like, yeah, you were here when you need to be here. That's what matters.
It's subverted melodrama as often as it leaned into it. Even when Safina sort of attacks Sky with the bottle, because that's huge. I mean, I vocalized at that moment. I was like, oh Jesus, like what the hell? But then Safina moves pretty quickly to take ownership of what she did and reach out and apologize. She's still hurt. I mean, totally devastated by this relationship that she thinks she sees growing between Sky and Murad. But people aren't sort of like relentless dickheads, except for the guy's dad. That guy is an asshole.
It's weird. You know what's really strange? This movie is written with a sense of subtlety and introspection that we just don't see in a lot of these kinds of films in American cinema.
And it's weird to say that in a movie where a lot of people getting slapped in the face.
A lot, over and over again.
A lot of people. Bam, bam. It's like, wow, there's a lot of face slapping going on, which is typically a hallmark of the worst kind of melodrama. But you watch it here and you're sort of like, I don't know, it feels real, and people are reacting to it in a real way. Like they're, I don't know. It somehow I was willing to accept it.
The other thing about this movie that helps is it's shot in kind of a naturalistic, in their style. You kind of always feel like you're in the crowds with them or you're on stage. They do a very good job of putting you in the moment and not making it feel like a movie. It almost at times feels almost documentary with the music parts.
I was going to ask if I remember correctly, all the musical numbers are motivated by the story and the actions.
Right. It's strange because you don't see this in Indian cinema, but we don't really get songs in this movie, not in like a big set piece way. It's like you mentioned, Cullen, it's there to drive the plot and also to be reflective of what's happening in the movie.
Well, and they only exist as okay, now I'm going to do a rap, or now we're making the video, and then you sort of see the video, but no one, we don't sort of shift reality's point of view,
right?
To understand that, okay, now someone is singing, but people typically don't sing. It's like, no, we're singing because we're rappers. That's what we do,
right?
Yeah, I really liked that aspect of it.
I agree. It's very different. It sets it apart.
And it's beautiful. I mean, the movie is gorgeous to look at in every, and again, but not in a like art designy sort of, heightened reality sort of way. It's just, even though we're spending a lot of our time among the poorest of the poor, everything about the way the film is rendered visually is attractive and compelling. So yeah, I mean, a real pleasure to watch. It's not one of these things where you're just constantly going, oh my God, these poor people.
Yeah. I appreciate that it didn't, exploit the poverty. It wasn't like poverty porn, on screen. Like it didn't hide what was happening. It didn't hide, the conditions that these people were living in, but it wasn't milking it for, melodrama.
No. And again, I think it also really helps that Ranveer Singh and Alia Bhatt are amazing actors. Ranveer Singh is great. I mean, look, I talked about this on the last episode. I'll mention it here again. Indian leading men are so charismatic that they blow American leading men out of the water in many respects. It's kind of night and day because, again, like I've been trying to learn Hindi for the last year. Spoilers, it hasn't been going well. Hey, man.
You can do it, Chris.
I can, but I will tell you that there's something inherently more difficult about learning a language where the language has its own alphabet. It's not using the English Roman alphabet. It's using, it's using Hindi, Sanskrit. So,
Chris, can't you just like immerse yourself in it there in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Yeah, totally. I could if I probably lived back home because I would be able to, ask my friends to help me out. But here, not so much. But, what's funny about this entire movie is the leading actors are so charismatic, and I don't know their language very well, but I don't care. Like, their performances are so good without it. Like, I don't have to know the language, right? Like,
I kept thinking that the hooks of their raps are just so infectious that, like, I don't know what they're... I see the subtitles, so I know the translation of what they're saying, but the rhythm of their melodies is just so good,
Yeah.
Pump your fist along with them when they're doing the choruses.
Yeah.
I thought they were just incredibly well written, composed, and performed songs.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll say something else. I didn't notice the strain of misogyny that exists in American rap and hip hop, which is almost universal.
He's talking about his mother's love at one point. He's like, with my mom's love, I'm going to like reign supreme.
Wait, Cullen, at one point, he brings his mom up in every single song.
It's true.
Yeah.
But then like everybody in the crowd is like, yeah, your mom, go moms.
Right. Yeah. And all the competitors, even the ones we're supposed to not like, they're all basically kind of supportive of each other. And like they try to they're doing their rap takedown and we're going to do our rap battle. But then afterwards, you would not be surprised if they were all in the same place getting a beer and going, hey, man, you did a great job.
Right.
I mean, they're presenting that community as pretty supportive. There was no bad guy in that community who they had to take down or who you got any pleasure out of seeing beaten. You wanted to see Murad succeed, but it wasn't like, oh, and then here's the evil rapper. But yeah, I love how it wasn't, there wasn't the equivalent of, look at my bitches, look at my hoes,
Yeah,
It just didn't exist.
To go back to your point before that about how there was no evil, villain to take down. Have you all seen Rain, the Color of Blue with a little red in it?
Is that the name of the movie?
No. Yeah, so it's a 2015 film from Niger, and it's a version of Purple Rain. Hence the title. It's blue with a little red in it.
Wow.
Blue with a little red in it.
Literal Purple Rain. Literally Purple Rain.
Mike White turned me on to this movie, and it's wonderful. I actually have not seen Purple Rain, but as I have been made to understand, it is the story of Purple Rain, but it's a film in Niger. But it's similarly like Gully Boy about someone that's, from a lower class family who dreams of being a musician, kind of has to go against family, and society to do this. But it does have a point where he comes up with a line, like a guitar lick, and then someone steals it and then like plays it on stage before he can. And it's just like, you hate that guy and you just really want the guy to succeed even more now. But yeah, this movie didn't have that. And I appreciate that now that you pointed it out, Richard, because I didn't notice it before.
It could have had the MC Cher character be that, but he becomes his hype man. I mean, he's Murad's hype man at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, so much of the movie ultimately becomes about the sort of, the younger generation against the older generation.
Oh yeah.
And the subtext of the entire movie seems to be saying things are different now. Things are changing now. We're not necessarily just going to go along, and that doesn't make us bad, and it doesn't make us self-destructive. This wasn't about like, oh, now he's going to get into drugs because he's in the music business. Like they might smoke a little dope in this movie. That's about it. He doesn't even drink.
Because he's Muslim. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you drink? No, I am Muslim for like the third time now, guys.
So it's really the bad guy in the movie is a culture and a system that doesn't allow people to follow their passion or to reach their full potential, or even make their own decisions as far as Safina is concerned. So that's the bad guy, and I would say that in the lives of our characters, that bad guy is defeated.
And it's interesting because I like that more movies are kind of taking to task this. Like, well, this is the way it's always been, and that's the way it'll always be. Like, no. And look, my generation, Cullen and my generation, as your generation paved the way for us, Richard, are doing our best to unpack and undo so much of what the previous generations have done and their expectations that they've put on us. And it feels like our generation is like finally fed up with it. I don't know. I mean, our generation is a bunch of stressed out, half depressed millennials who are always tired. I mean, it's probably because we're trying to undo a lot of the things like this. I want to do what I want to do. Why can't you accept that? Like,
I'm glad my generation is finally being recognized as the greatest generation, the real greatest generation.
Richard Hatem, folks.
You're the first one to do it, and I just hope it catches on. It's I don't know. I don't want to get into politics necessarily at this moment, but I think there is a feeling right now that it's like, you know what? We don't have to live being eternally punished by our employers, by politicians. We actually can be treated with respect and empathy. And it starts with treating each other that way. And maybe that's what's changing. Maybe that can change.
Well, and to your point, I mean, also this idea that like all it takes are people standing up and saying, I'm done. It's not like there's like a movement here. It's like people just all together going, this is not okay. We need to move past this. We need to move past it.
Yeah.
We need to move past people being, people who work in the service industry being treated like garbage. and being undercompensated for their time. We need to end that because it's not okay. It's just not okay.
It's the same argument. It's well, if you pay them a living wage, they won't be motivated to get a better job.
Right.
Is it your job to motivate them to get a better job? Why not have someone who can make a living? When I was a kid, there were people working at the grocery store who'd been working there their whole lives, and that was not a tragic story. It wasn't, oh no, this poor woman has had to slave her entire life away at this grocery store. It's like, no, this has been her job. She got benefits and she was able to, on that salary, live, and not live in poverty. Now the feeling is, well, how will you ever be motivated to become a billionaire if I pay you a living wage? And you'll notice by all the billionaires in the world, how well that has worked. It's really motivated millions and millions and millions of people to become billionaires.
Aren't you a billionaire?
All they needed was to be paid slave wages for decades.
Yeah. I mean, Gully Boy talks about it. Reality talks about it. There needs to be we as a society needs to internally look at ourselves and say, some people aren't going to be motivated no matter what you do. And that's okay. They're going to do what they're going to do. But they need to be compensated fairly so that they can do that and not live paycheck to paycheck or worse than that.
Right. And if your life sucked, the world's not going to get better by you making sure everyone else's lives suck as bad as your life sucked. If your life sucked, that's too bad. Why not try to make it a little bit better for others?
Exactly. And that's an important thing that I think a lot of us are figuring out very quickly is you cannot continue to be an asshole any longer.
No.
And you know what? I'll go a step further. If your life didn't suck, then you have an even bigger burden to get out there actively and make sure other people's lives don't suck.
Exactly.
Whose lives might otherwise suck.
Exactly. And that's, I think, those messages really are transcendent in how important they are. I mean, you see it in this film, you see it in a lot of English language films. But again, with a film like this, the inequity of equity is so high in India. I mean, you see it in this film. It's worse than it is here because of, well, a lot of things. Population, infrastructure, population. You can't do anything about it in some respects, but others you can. But like we've said, like the continuation of really negative emotional behavior is something that we as a country are very quickly coming to terms with, because there's no need to be angry, unhappy people, which people have been forever.
Yeah. You know what? It made me think of something else just now, is that this also was not a story about a guy who had an innate talent that was obviously superior to those around him, but the culture was keeping him down. But as soon as those blockades were moved away, his obvious inborn God-given magical talent was then unleashed upon the world. I would argue that Murad was possibly not the best rapper in the movie.
No,
not at all.
I think
not at all. 100% agree.
It wasn't about a bunch of people going, oh my God, look at this guy. He's actually the best rapper. Can you imagine what a tragedy it'd be if he wasn't allowed to rap? It was about a guy who wanted to rap, who was good at it, but had to work at it.
He spent all that time writing in his notebook.
Right. And there were things he wasn't good at. It was like, well, I'm good at this part of it, but I'm not good at the rap battles. And so MC Sure had to go, okay, here's what you do. Here's how you get good at that. And helped him out. MC Sure, I would almost say, was a much better rapper and a more charismatic performer in a lot of ways. But it wasn't even about that. It was about a guy with some talent who worked really hard to get to a particular level. And shouldn't he fucking be allowed to do that?
That is something that always annoys me in narratives, Chris. You've heard me complain about it in Harry Potter, the born with the gift.
Right.
I don't respond to those. And Richard, you are 100% right. Like, he works for what he gets in this movie. And I really like that about this.
he hustles more than most are in the movie, at least the ones that we see. I mean, he has to provide for his family. He has a job. He then goes and does the rapping thing. There's a lot going on. I mean, this character is running, he's burning the candle at both ends, as they would say. I mean, he's doing everything that he can and then some. And I think you're right, Richard. I think it's important that this movie doesn't have the savior gimmick slapped onto it.
Yeah. And and by the way, he's not a dick either. He's not like, you suck, Dad. Your job sucks. I'm not just going to be like you. He's like, look, I'll do that. I'll try to do that. All I'm asking for is an opportunity to do this on the side. And maybe if I have to miss one afternoon of work to pursue this, is that okay? And apparently the answer is hell no.
Yeah.
That was so satisfying when he walked off that job. I will think of that often.
It's a very effective scene because it allows the screenwriters to really play with the interpretation of the way the dialogue's being spoken, because what Murad is saying is not what his uncle is saying. And I think that's really fun. And that's that's a smart way of writing that scene, because again, you let the audience realize it with the character, not the other way around. You're not having the character tell the audience what's going on. You're letting the audience experience it with the character. That's a very smart way of presenting it, because again, I think, like we've already mentioned, I don't think any one of us have said it outright, but this movie could have slipped into melancholy and saccharine very easily. And I'm really surprised in a way that it doesn't. I will tell you, by the end of the film, I was moved to emotions, as was my wife, which is funny because I don't think she was expecting to get that from this movie. But yeah, this movie, it hits you. If you're engaged and you're into it, it's going to hit you really hard at the end.
Yeah. And just relentlessly entertaining. I never bored, never disengaged. It was, I was thoroughly enjoying it and was into it from minute one to minute last.
Well edited for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie. I mean, a lot of the Indian cinema films that we watch don't. I was telling my friend this, who was on the last episode, and he's Indian, but he grew up in the United States. Indian cinema just makes me feel the way I wish American movies made me feel. The people who are making these Indian cinema films genuinely love what they're doing. They love the stories that they're telling, and they know that they're given an opportunity here to make something that millions of people are going to enjoy. I mean, again, as cool as Tom Cruise may be, as many fans as he has, Ranveer Singh, Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Rajnikant, those people, those Indian actors are gods. They're they are gods to the people in India, because they're so goddamn talented and charismatic. There's a reason Shah Rukh Khan is in films playing a 30-year-old when he's in his 50s. And people are just like, yep. Like, people don't question it. Because it's, my friend Neil was explaining this. He was saying, I don't go see the movies because of the movie. In India, if you're going to see a movie, it's because of who the actor is. So this is a Ranveer Singh film. And, then you've got something like Sholay, which is an Amitabh, right? Sholay was Amitabh? Yes. I believe so.
I don't recall.
But that's kind of like crazy to me in a way. Because that's not we used to do that in the United States, I guess. Would people just go see movies because of certain actors in it?
I mean, that's with me and Charles Bronson.
That's fair.
Well,
again, Bronson is a god.
But he's a god to you. Is he a god to millions of other Americans, though?
Yes. I mean, especially in the 70s, I would say, yeah. I mean, today, maybe fewer millions. That can change.
Yeah. The crazy thing is like Amitabh and Rajnikant. I mean, if Bronson was alive, it'd be a different story, but they're still regarded as such, and they don't act as much as they used to. In Indian cinema, it would seem once you've cemented your place, welcome to the big show, because you're going to be making God knows how many movies and making a lot of money. I mean, these Indian cinema stars are making good money, obviously. There's no shortage of it when this movie makes as much money as it did.
I'm honestly asking, I feel like I should know, but is there any crossover or migration. I guess there doesn't have to be. I guess the Indian film industry is so robust. They're not looking at America as it's like, well, I'm just going to make this until I can, get over to America and make, Mission Impossible 9. But it is strange because I'm like, well, yeah, it would be great to see some of these actors, writers, directors, kind of coming over here and bringing their talent and their point of view and kind of their sensibilities to American cinema.
We were talking about that on the last episode, and I'm curious what y'all's take on it is because, Cullen, Richard, like what are some preeminent international cinema that is commonly accepted in the States? Japanese?
I would say, maybe, or like I would say the words Jackie Chan,
I was
for
thinking
Chinese.
of some of the Hong Kong action movies.
Sure.
Hong Kong,
Not a lot of Indian cinema. Like none. I mean, if you ask someone if they've seen Indian cinema, they're going to say one thing, and it's not an Indian cinema film. It's a film set in India made by a British director.
They make fun of that in this movie.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we were making fun of it on the last episode because it's like the height of disrespect in a way.
I haven't seen it. Is it worth?
It's not a good movie.
I've only seen a couple of his movies, and I'm not crazy about all of them.
But the actor Dev Patel,
he's great.
Now, did he grow up in India and was in Indian films before, or was he always a Western sort of?
No, he was an English actor.
Yeah, that's
why I'm saying like it's a little. Sure. It's like it's a film set in India about the slums, made by a British director. Britain being the colonialists who occupied India.
Right.
It's very not. It's just look again. I'm not Indian. I have no opinion on the British other than the fact that we were a colonial British colony as well. So, we as Americans are thanking the British for leaving us alone and not trying to invade us anymore. But yeah, Slumdog Millionaire is not great. But to your point, Richard, I don't know what the answer is because I don't know why there aren't more Indian cinema films making the leap across the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume it's because those artists do not feel that they need to come to America to either, to succeed, work, or justify their artistic aspirations. I did want to mention one other sequence in the movie that I thought was really interesting. And it was the graffiti at night sequence, where primarily led by the female cast members, there was a whole night of let's go out and do graffiti that addresses female standards of beauty that are mostly Western and seem to be invading the sort of Indian culture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. They're sort of getting close to it. And then they just said it explicitly. They just painted over this sort of makeup ad that I guess is directed toward Indian women to make their skin lighter. And they just painted over it and wrote "brown is beautiful." And I'm like, oh, okay. So yes, I am getting the message here. We do not need Western standards of beauty to define us. And maybe that's a little bit of what's at work in the fact that they're not coming here to make their movies and write their screenplays because they're able to do it and say what they want to say right there. And maybe they feel it's more important to do it there.
I mean, you do have Fox Star Studios, which is part of the Indian production world. So there is that. And I'm sure there are American producers getting into Indian cinema. There have to be because look, it's like fish. It's like blood in the water, right? I mean, producers will come running if they think they can make money regardless of where it is, I'm sure. But it's weird because for me, I could say Seven Samurai and most people here will know what that is. Or maybe The Seventh Seal. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of
I don't know.
International films that are well known in the States. Like, I don't like, and that are filmed in the language of the country that they're from. Not like Star Wars shot in Tunisia. Like, oh, fucking who cares? Or whoop-de-doo.
I've been to Atlanta many, many times over the last 20 years. And I must assume there is a large Indian population in Atlanta and around because I know that at the mall, that we have gone to see movies at over the course of 20 years, every time we go, one theater is showing an Indian film and I don't even know if they're showing it with subtitles.
Probably.
And it's not being advertised to Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's being shown to an audience that will show up for it, that knows about it. And I'm sure there's a big divide between those people who are showing. No one who was probably born in Atlanta and growing up in that culture is flooding to see what the latest Indian film offering is from India.
Gully Boy.
Yeah.
Richard, what you said is sort of a good lead-in. When I was growing up, thankfully there was a video store that had a decent international section, but I sort of feel like the only Indian films they had, I think they had Salam Bombay by Mira Nair, and I think that was it. They didn't even have the I'm going to screw up the name, Satyajit Ray, the Pather Panchali trilogy, the Apu trilogy. I just don't think that has been a lot of exposure to these movies, like opportunities to see them outside of major cities. I was psyched that this was on, Prime with subtitles.
There is so much Indian cinema on Prime and Netflix. It'll blow your mind.
I wonder
why it
what
makes
the
sense.
next 10, 15 years is what 10 years from now people are going to talk about in terms of classics. Because for all the problems with digital distribution, and there are many, the fact that you can have access to movies like this, you didn't have access to this 5 years ago.
No.
5 years ago, we could not have done a podcast about this movie. And so I think that's exciting. I'm hopeful maybe that will, being able to experience these movies is going to be less of a, you must go to an art house theater in order to see this. Like the fact that you can just watch it in your home anywhere. Maybe that'll normalize watching these types of movies in America.
What's funny, Cullen, we talked about this on the last episode. I'll mention it here. So there's a really big multiplex down the street from where my parents live in Dallas. And probably 10 years ago, maybe 15 probably, you would not see Indian cinema there. In the last 15 years, North Texas has become a hotspot for folks from India, China. Asian immigrants have come and settled in North Texas. It's fucking amazing. Now that movie theater, my friend, has several screens devoted primarily to Indian cinema.
That's awesome.
First run Indian cinema. That to me is fucking mind-blowing.
That is so cool.
Right? It is. It's amazing. Because there used to be just one place you would go. It was called Fun Asia. We talked about it on the last episode. And it was for Indian films. Now you don't have, you could still go there. It's only showing Indian cinema. So, a lot bigger selection. But I don't know. For all of the good things that we get out of Indian cinema, I wish more people knew about it. Right? Richard, you agree. Cullen, you agree.
Yeah. Why don't you do 2 months a year?
I'm half tempted to just do this permanently.
Because it's not homework. It's this is thoroughly entertaining. It's entertaining than most American films. I can't, other than having to read subtitles, you gotta check out the subtitles. But other than that, the story is pretty simple enough. Even with the subtitles, you're not. And this is very digestible. This is fun.
Yeah, Cullen, skip it or watch it.
Hard watch.
Hard watch.
Hard watch. Yep, I agree. Hard watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Everybody can enjoy this movie. The theme is rather universal. Frankly, it's so universal that I'm surprised more people haven't seen this movie. But on that note, let's take a break and I'll play a preview for the final film of Indian Cinema Month.
कुछ कुछ होता है कुछ होता है राहुल, तुम नहीं समझोगे।
कुछ कुछ होता है अंजलि, तुम नहीं समझोगे।
That's right. On the final episode of Culturecast Indian Cinema Month, we're going to be talking about Coach Hota Hai, which, strange connection to this film. This film was the second film to ever win all 4 awards at the Filmfare Awards, which, by the way, are the Indian version of the Oscars. I would assume that they probably did that, A, because they were sick and tired of not getting their films nominated by the Academy, which has happened all but 3 times, I believe, that they've submitted their films since 57. And this film won the 4 big awards, which has only happened one other time, 21 years ago, at the 21 at the time, back in 98 with Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. So, strange connection. Gully Boy and this film Gully Boy and that film both won the big awards: Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Film. It's only happened twice in India.
Cool.
That's amazing.
All right.
So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm looking forward to it. Mike and Mark are joining me, so that'll be a fun discussion. I know Mark's excited to have to watch a 3.5-hour movie. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. So on that note, though, where can people find you, Mr. Hatem, when you're not here?
They can catch me on HBO Max. Titans is running first and second seasons in their entirety, and third season drops in early August, I think, is the date now. So check out Titans on HBO Max.
And the Mothman Prophecies.
Always.
What about you, Cullen?
I am still at pulp-serenade.com. Trying to do more updates. A short story of mine got published by Beat to a Pulp, which I was really stoked about because I've loved that online magazine for about 10 or 12 years. And
that's awesome, dude. High praise for Cullen, everyone. Come on, man. This guy's making his dreams a reality. That's awesome, dude.
I'm working at it. Damn it.
Hey, and that's better than not. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus. Why is it changed? Because I do a podcast with Richard about Rankin on Bass. Has it been about Christmas recently? Not in like 6 months. So, you know.
I'm missing those Christmas specials, let me tell you.
You and me both, man. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Culturecast.com is where you can find this podcast. Patreon.com/Culturecast is where you can go. $1 is all it takes. Bonus content. If you're into it, cool. If not, hey, times are hard. I get it. And yeah, big thanks to Richard and Cullen for joining me as always. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.